and welcome to the Extension Connection. You have the Morton County Extension Office here today. This is Vanessa Hoynes, Family Consumer Science Extension Agent.
And I'm Liz Larson with the Parent Resource Center. So Carla's still up at the fair doing a ton of fun stuff and working hard.
Yeah, and I just got back late last night, so I think I'm going to report a little bit about some of the things some of the events that were just finished up in the last few days at the fair, at least the ones that I was involved with. So we have some of those things I'm going to talk about. Of course, we also have the Morton County Fair coming up, so I think we'll hit some highlights for that. And so if you're making plans for not this weekend, but the following weekend, that first weekend in August, we have some great opportunities for you and your family.
Get your calendars out.
Yeah, and kind of jot some notes down. And then I'm also going to talk a little bit about zucchini. It's that time of year, and even when we don't have great gardens, a lot of times you can still have a bumper crop of zucchini.
They still come through for us every year.
So we'll talk a little bit about that, and maybe also some food preservation, just to give you some tips about what to be thinking about as far as trying to gather some of that produce and keep it for next winter when it's cold. And Liz, what are you going to be talking about?
Well, it's kind of getting into the season of thinking about back to school.
I
know it's hard to believe. We're still in July technically, but so I'm going to talk a little bit about back to school budgeting and kind of as we're looking to buy supplies and clothes and all of that, some tips on how to keep on budget. And then also with that, we're having the back to school extravaganza next week over here at the park in Dykeshorn Park in Mandan. So we'll touch a little bit on that and kind of when it is and what they're doing and who should come and all of that.
Another great fun family event.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Lots going on these last weeks of summer, right?
Well, so talking about the state fair, just like I mentioned, it just got back last night and went up on Sunday. On Sunday for 4-H events, one of them that was going on was the communication arts event. And that's always a fun event because I think that's one of those events that is so unique to 4-H. I can't actually think of another youth organization where kids as young as 5 years old get an opportunity to do a presentation in front of an audience.
Yes, yeah. What a great skill to start early.
An awesome skill. And I think, that's the, it's kind of funny because the as kids advance, there's an opportunity for kids in this contest to be involved at their club, and then also in a county contest, and then we move on to a district contest. And these at the state fair, of course, was the cream of the crop. They were the best of the best from the districts, and they were vying for some of those top honors. And so they've had a chance to practice their skills and hone their skills, yet they're still very young. And what's very fun is at the district event, we've given them as kind of like participating prizes. They've gotten T-shirts, and they're so proud of their T-shirts because they say, "We do for fun what most people are too afraid to do."
Yeah, exactly.
Doing that whole
public speaking,
that whole public speaking thing. And so some of the kids that we had involved, we had and in communication arts, there's lots of different categories. The first category I wanted to talk about is demonstrations, and that's just like it sounds. It's an opportunity to actually demonstrate how to do something, and it can be any type of any type of thing that somebody wants to show how to do something. And so they actually bring all the props and demonstrate that in front of the audience with posters and those kinds of things. Julia Rohn was actually participating in that. And for this event at the state fair, we don't choose an overall winner necessarily, but we choose the top percentage of the kids that were performing there. And she did receive an award of excellence, and that's the top honor that you can get. Yeah, we also had Adrian Sogstead, who participated in Illustrated Talk. And just like it sounds, it's similar to a demonstration, but it doesn't actually, you don't demonstrate how to do anything. You only use illustrations or posters as your way of sharing that information. And then we had a team in broadcasting. And yes, we do have these young people practicing broadcasting, whether it's radio or TV. They create their own stories, pull the stories together into a presentation, and as a team, they both have to speak. equally. And this was a sister team, Medora and Sheridan Ellingson. And they also received an award of excellence.
Wow. We might have to get them on our show sometime.
Yes.
They can try it out on live time here.
And it's fun because not only is it speaking, but all of these that I've just talked about are all things that these 4-Hers had to write their scripts. So it's not just a matter of being able to present it, but it's a matter of pulling all those ideas together in a logical form and being able to share that message in a meaningful way for somebody. The next example is prepared speech. That's also one that you have to write your own material, and that was John Gettle took part in that one, and he actually had kind of a humorous take on his, which was a lot of fun, and he also received an award of excellence. And then the last 3 that were all involved in interpretive reading. And so that one is different because that is taking material that was written by someone else and doing your interpretation of that. And so it can be an entire piece. It can be like a short story. It can be a short book, or it can be an excerpt from a very large piece. And we had Catherine Gettle was involved with that one, and she did Paul Revere's Ride. We also had Andrew Bierman, who did an interpretive reading. I don't recall what Andrew did. And then we also had Grace Gettle, who did an interpretive reading, and she shared 2 of her favorite poems.
Oh, okay.
And
very diverse.
Yes, and
reading.
Grace did actually receive an award of excellence also.
What a good crew there, Morton County representing.
They were. They really did an awesome job that day. And there were others that were tapped to go to the state fair, but of course not everybody sometimes is available to go. But these were the contestants who were able to go and represented, like you said, Morton County very well.
Well, and like you said, these are kids that are working on it all year long, right? I mean, they're doing practices and performing other places. I don't know if performing is the right word. Presenting. And sometimes it is kind of performing too. Several of them were also asked to come and do their presentations for a Morton County Homemakers event. And, so think about that too. If you have an event and you'd like a youth speaker, we do have them, and they are available to come and visit with your group, whether it's a community service group or whatever it might be. They like the opportunity because it's a great practice. Yes. Yep. Yeah. Get them ready for those big competitions, right?
Yeah. And then on Monday at the State Fair, we had the State Project Expo, and that's an opportunity for kids to share a more in-depth look at a project area that they've been learning about. And it's kind of like the best way to describe it, I think, is like a science fair project, only it can be literally about anything. We had 3 individuals that were involved with that, Angel Abdallah, Anthony Abdallah, and also Colton Hoiby. And their topics ranged from Dutch oven cooking to shrimp farming. And so we had, lots of different topics. And so it was an opportunity for them to kind of shine and share what they've learned about those different topics throughout this last year. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back and talk a little bit more about the State Fair and the Consumer Choices contest that happened yesterday.
Right now, 78.
Dave Ramsey is heard here. Super Talk 1270.
And welcome back to Extension Connection. This is the Morton County office with Vanessa and Liz. And before the break, we were talking about the North Dakota State Fair. Yesterday, we had the State Consumer Choices Contest. And you might ask yourself, well, what is the Consumer Choices Contest?
What do they do?
I'm sure throughout the years, we talk about different judging events. We've talked about hippology with the horses, and we've talked about livestock judging. There's land judging, there's range judging. This is actually another judging contest that I think is probably, well, I'm biased, but I think it's the most important one.
Here.
Yeah, I think it's the most important one because it is truly, like it says, it's consumer choices. And so it's, as a consumer, helping kids to discern, the things that they buy. What are some standards that they should be considering when buying whatever it might be, and how do I go about choosing what's the best for the situation that I have. And so, for example, the things that they were judging and learning about this year in studying in preparation, they learned about insulated jackets and vests. So they learned about the, whether it's down-filled and what were the benefits of that, and the types of fabric that you want to have to keep the down in, or to keep it so that it's, a jacket or a vest that will be durable and will stand up.
Something very practical in our climate.
Oh, definitely. And, learned about the other types of insulations. If you're not using down, what are some of the other insulations that you're going to want to have that would be lightweight, that would be, keeping you warm, that would be a good buy for what you're looking for. The
cost for what you're getting
and what you want to use it for. So that was one of the things they learned about. We also talked about, or had the kids learn about, backpacks. And this was anything from backpacks we'd use for school to backpacks we'd use for hiking. And so learning about, if you're planning a hiking trip, how large a backpack do you need if you're planning to do like weekend backpacks versus, or are you going for a 10-day backpacking type hike? Obviously, totally different kind of backpack. What are the different things, what are the materials you want your backpack made out of? What's going to be durable? What's going to stand up? How large, how many liters should you have it hold based on how you probably will be using it? And, just really helpful things and things that help them to, even if they never buy a backpack, it's also the opportunity to have that knowledge of being able to make a decision and taking the information that and even how to research whatever it is you want to purchase, and being able to kind of discern, what's most important to me, what are the things I really need to look for, and how does cost come into that, and when is it okay to spend a little bit more because I know it's going to be a better, something that I'll be able to use for many years, kind of thing.
All those critical thinking and problem-solving skills that we want kids to have,
and then they
for
also
years
get
to come.
And they also get a chance then to present that. So they do speak with the judge and talk about their reasons for how they place the different classes. The third thing that we looked at, and we always choose at least one thing to judge that has to do with food nutrition, just because we all eat and we're always constantly buying food. And so they looked at smoothies this year, and what you should be including in a smoothie, and how to make sure that smoothie is being a positive addition to your diet and not just a treat. Because smoothies have kind of gone crazy.
They're a little bit more like ice cream, or it's like chocolate muffins.
Yeah.
Is it really a muffin, or is it a cupcake?
Is this
smoothie really a smoothie, or is it
or just an ice cream treat?
An ice cream treat,
a shake or a malt or those kinds of things. And so learning some of those things and how to read food labels and making those choices too. So those are the things that the kids were involved in. On our junior team, we had 3 individuals, Grace Berger, Frankie Berry, and Samantha Cunningham, and all 3 of them did awesome yesterday. The team overall placed 4th in the state, and so I'm very, very proud of them. Grace Berger was our high individual out of our team, and she actually was the 3rd high individual in the state.
Woohoo!
And I was sharing with the office this morning that she got a score of 445 out of 450. So she only missed 5 points.
Wow, that's amazing. Good work, Grace, if you're listening.
Yeah, so she had a very awesome day. So good for her. And I do have to say, all these contestants really have studied and have worked hard in preparation for the state contest. And then our senior team, we had 2 individuals, Catherine Gettle and Brittany Barnhart, and that team overall placed 6th. So they also had a good day. And again, kudos to them for all their hard work and for representing Morton County in such an awesome way.
Well, and there's tons of kids that go for these events and lots of teams across the state. So
yes,
and hard.
And we had lots of kids that worked on it in Morton County. Not everybody can always go to state fair, and so these are those that were tapped and were able to participate and represent. So
very exciting.
Good for them.
Yeah.
But I know you were going to share some things.
Yeah. So talking about
upcoming school,
back to school. Speaking of our youth, right? They're way into the summer life right now, but soon enough, back to school is on the mind, right? I've already seen at the stores the materials are coming out, school supplies, all of that.
Well, I know my son just got his schedule.
Yep,
for the
schedule.
Fall. Those are coming, and
I'm
that's
sure.
kind of like the beginning.
Supply list, I'm sure, will be beginning of the end. Yeah, sorry, kids. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about kind of that back-to-school budget, because there's so many things that come up, and you think it's only 1 month, essentially, or less than, that you're trying to get all this different things. So really trying to plan ahead. So that's why we're talking about it a little earlier. You still have a few weeks. So the first thing would just be to set a budget. Really look at your overall, budget and see what you can spend and make sure you stick to it. So make sure that you're bringing receipts back, if you're going to multiple stores or something, really being aware of that budget. And if your kids are old enough, make sure they're aware of the budget. If they have X amount of dollars to spend on folders and notebooks and whatever else, that if they really want that fun folder, they might have to sacrifice somewhere else, get the basic pencils instead or something. Another tip is to start shopping early. So now is a great time to start looking. You can do some comparison shopping, find some coupons, looking for those sales. So if you shop early, you have the chance of beating crowds too, right? And that can kind of help keep the stress level down. You don't want to be with everybody else that last week before, and it's just nuts. The bins are not organized, and everybody's feeling a little stressed out, and you can't find the right things. And so start shopping early. And then, of course, like I said, shop sales. So retail stores offer those back-to-school specials, even clothing, shoes. A lot of times there's buy one, get one kind of thing. So figure out which kids need what clothes, all of that kind of thing. Make sure you're getting the best bang for your buck, right? Another tip is to see what you already have. So just because it's a new school year doesn't mean everything needs to be new. If your kids' shoes still fit, hold on to those. Keep them going, because most likely at some point during the year they're not going to fit, or they're going to get worn out, and you will have to buy that pair. So see what clothing still fits. See if you have extra school supplies in your house still that didn't get used the year before. Backpacks are a big item that usually cost a fair amount. So pull out the old backpacks or older sibling backpacks and see if they'll still work.
Yeah,
and
see if they have a few more months wear in them.
Yes, yep, exactly. Even if you can get a couple more months, that'll help balance that budget out a little bit, so you're not spending everything this month before the school year starts.
And I think prioritizing, because sometimes there are things that you need right now. I mean, they probably need their notebooks and those kinds of things right now. Sometimes I think with back to school shopping, when I was a kid, it was always you got clothes.
Yep.
But really, when we're starting school so early,
they're still in their summer stuff.
Yeah, they're wearing their summer stuff sometimes all the way through September. And so really, if you have, sports fees and physicals and all those other things that you also have to be paying out right now, maybe you can put off some of those clothes. And you might actually get a better deal on some of those more fall and winter clothes later than you will right now.
Right. And some of those younger kids or any age, I suppose, they're going to outgrow some of it too. So it's like if you buy it winter clothes right now, they're barely going to fit through the whole winter.
Yeah. So kind of prioritizing what you really need right now to start the first day.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe it's one new shirt.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. That's the shoes. One exciting shirt or something
new to start the day.
Yep, exactly.
The first day.
So along with that tip is don't buy those unnecessary items, the crazy expensive folders or binders or shirts or whatever. Again, make sure your kids are using those consumer choices skills, right? Of how much do we have in the budget and what do I really need and all that kind of thing.
So wise shopping.
And then always you can check secondhand stores. Sometimes athletic equipment or other things are really gently used because kids outgrow them. So anywhere you can kind of cut down a little bit on the cost. So stock up while you can, buy the deal so that maybe in the long run you're saving money. And when we come back from a quick break, we'll keep talking about getting ready for back to school.
Right now, 78.
The Jim Bohannon Show is here. Super Talk 1270.
All right, we are back with the Extension Connection. This is Morton County. Vanessa and Liz here, and we're just laughing about how exciting it is to buy school supplies.
I know.
You almost want to buy some new pens for my office or something just to the excitement.
I did.
You did?
I did. I had to break down. It's just like too fun.
I know. All those brand new notebooks, and they're so pretty and fun.
Work and school and everything just goes better when you got new supplies.
Exactly.
New equipment to
Yep.
work with.
When we were talking before the break, and then while we were on break, making sure you prioritize. What do you really need? That those new items is, what can you hold off on for a couple weeks or months even? If you don't have to spend that whole paycheck that 1 month, that can help a lot in the long run. It's kind of like Christmas. You're supposed to work up to it and try to time things well.
And I think in your budget, even trying to write down some of those other things that aren't maybe shopping. Even you have to put some money in their meal account.
Yeah, exactly.
And you have all these things, and it's kind of like check after check. Or some of the schools I've now gone to that the students have an account that you can put money in electronically. But all those things take money, and so being able to write all those down so that you're not surprised. And unfortunately, the older your students get, the bigger the numbers are.
Right? Yeah, you think, they'll have less because they're not maybe getting glue and markers and those types of things. But the bigger ticket items.
Yeah, instead of glue or markers, now you're paying athletic fees for them to be involved with a sport. Or, on the break, we're also talking about, you also have football shoes, or you have soccer shoes you have to buy, or all those things that are pretty big ticket items, and for right now they might take the place of some of the other
those things. Whereas, like we said before break, a used backpack is fine. They're just using it, and those can last a couple years sometimes,
or even for now, because of course backpacks will be on a better deal 3 months from now.
Exactly. Yep. So, in some of those items, the kids might need a couple weeks of school to figure out what they actually need. What they thought they needed maybe is different a couple weeks in. And so,
We've all gotten that great trapper keeper that nobody used.
The rest of the time. So, look for ways that you can stock up, because there are deals. So, if your kids are going to run out of pencils or crayons or whatever it is, try to get the bigger box or a couple boxes on deal, that kind of thing.
Because they're always going to be cheaper now than they will be in January when they run out of whatever it is.
So again, goes back to that kind of prioritizing and really just sitting down, whether it's on your own or with the kids, and just planning, highlight what do we need to get, when can we get it, let's do some comparison here. And really making sure you're not breaking the budget before the school year even starts. So speaking of back to school as well, like I said, the back to school extravaganza is coming up. So it's this coming Tuesday, August 1st in Dykeshorn Park. And it'll be from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. And everybody's invited, kids of all ages, parents, whether they come with a parent or grandparent, or I know sometimes child care centers bring groups of kids, all sorts of groups.
Yeah, great family event.
Yes, a big family event. So some of the things, they have the buddy clinic going that whole time, 1 to 6. So I think that is where you bring a little friend or something like that, and they kind of check them out and So it gives kids exposure to what an appointment might look like, a doctor's appointment, so it's not quite as scary. They do the child identification cards, and they do note that line will close at 5:30 because it takes a little while to get through. It's usually the longest line at the event.
It is.
But a great resource to have right there as you're starting the new school year. They do some free vision screenings. You can find that inside the library. And there's inflatable games, so tons of fun also. And there's going to be some gymnastics exhibitions going on. At the band shell, there's things, it looks like almost every half hour there's a different event going on. So whether there's some children's yoga, there's kids on the block, puppets are talking about bullying, there's some music. And then at the end of the day at 6 o'clock, the summer reading program, the grand prizes will be awarded, which is pretty exciting. There's burgers being sold as well during the event around dinner time. Yep, support the Dakota Lions, the burger part.
And then there will be free books given away too as part of the end of the year, end of the summer reading program too. So as long as they last, they will have some free books for kids. So that's exciting too. And then in the tent, there's lots of other partners that are there, and that's kind of where we come in.
Right, yep. We'll be there. We'll have a couple tables, I think, and get to talk. I don't know what you're going to talk about. I think I'm going to cover kind of setting up a schedule so we can have kids know what their morning routine is, or maybe evening routine, whichever needs some support and help, right? So get kids on that mindset of all the things they're responsible for doing. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that at the booth.
Usually we do some kinds of activities, and so I'm going to do some things related to nutrition, having them choosing. Maybe we'll have them create some snack ideas that they might want to put together, and talking about how a snack is something, in order to be a real healthful snack, we try and make sure you have at least 2 food groups when you have a snack.
There we go. So we'll test their knowledge, dust off the brains from the summer.
So they'll have to think about 2 different food groups and then be able to pair them together as a good snack, something that they might want to do at home. And then I also might bring out my my fun physical activity dice.
Oh, those are fun. Yeah.
And let them take a roll and take a chance at that. That's kind of fun. They have one of the die has numbers from 1 to 6, and then or maybe it's like 2 to 10.
Yeah.
And just doing the even numbers, and then the other one has different activities. So if they roll the dice, they might have to do 4 jumping jacks or 6 push-ups or whatever they happen to fall on.
Yes, so I know last year there was kids that wanted to do it over and over. No, right? There are lots of activity,
which is great.
Yes,
that's what we want them to do. So just an opportunity to help get them started off on a great school year, and really the focus of the whole day is trying to get kids active, and that they're fueling their bodies with good nutrition and staying physically active, so that we have healthy kids in our community.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, so there's crafts going on all day. Like you said, each of the booths, I mean, there's Custer Health, the Safety Council will be there, Mandan PD, the Langang Chiropractic, Prairie Rose. So there's lots of great community partners that are there to, like you said, get our kids off to a healthy start for the new school year.
There's a good display usually from the Safety Council. They talk about booster seats and child restraints, and are there to answer some questions and help you make sure that you have the right seat for your child, and at what size that you can make some changes and those kinds of things. So that's always good.
Which is good too, because our North Dakota state laws just recently changed, so they'll be there to.
They will talking about the new guidelines.
The other year I saw they had an actual car seat there, so you could put the kid in the seat, and someone can point out, where the seatbelt should sit and hit on their body, and all of those good things. So
and many times that's exactly what it is. It's not so much that the seat is wrong. It's how the child is using it, or how we're choosing to put them in there.
Yep, and great to do it with the kid right there, so the kid knows every time they get in how they should feel. Yep. So it'll be it's a full afternoon. We'll see how the weather is. I know we usually sweat it out a little bit, which is fun. So come out, see us and all the other partners on Tuesday, August 1st from 1 to 6.
And it's fun because you can kind of come and stay and take part in the
Spend
entertainment,
as
go
much
through
time.
the building, go through the tents, and lots of fun giveaway things. So
Yeah, it'll be a big day, big afternoon.
yes, I'll
Fun
probably give
time.
away some wristbands that
Oh,
change color, which is always
So you can learn about SPF and
keeping
sun
our
exposure.
keeping our sun exposure down. So that's always a fun thing to do too.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll add to that, we're doing, the Parent Resource Center will have a class that evening. It's a series of 3 Tuesdays, and it's called Building Strong Families. So we're going to talk some about family strengths and communication, and really available for parents with kids of any age. So if you want to register for that, you can call the office. It's 667-3342. There's still a couple spots left for that class. And again, it'll start on August 1st, and then we're going to meet 3 Tuesday evenings at 6:30 at the library. So it'll be right there.
Great way to end the evening.
Yeah, exactly. So you can grab a burger and then stick around and come hang out. So if you have questions, give me a call and we can register you or give you more details or whatever else. So yeah, lots of good things going on as kids get ready for the new school year, right?
Yeah.
So I think, Vanessa, you're going to mention some food nutrition stuff here with a couple minutes before the break.
I was going to talk a little bit about food preservation and just reminding folks that if you're delving into food preservation, NDSU Extension is a good place to go for some of those ideas, for recipes, for just to make sure that you're doing it in a safe manner. If you have any questions, also if you have a gauge on your pressure canner and you need that checked, usually we recommend them being checked once every 2 years.
Okay.
And so it's a good thing to stop in, and it's free of charge. All you have to do is just bring your gauge in, and I can take care of that for you. And I have a quiz for you.
Oh, okay.
So let's see, Liz, how you do?
I'm probably not going to fare very well.
So I have a bunch of old church cookbooks at home, and they have great canning recipes in them. Do you think I should use them?
Ooh, I would say not unless you check with the extension agent, maybe.
There you go. That's a good idea. And, in general, usually those old cookbooks, they are great for, scrumptious bars and pies and casseroles or other things like that. But when it comes to food preservation recipes, those old cookbooks just to be something that we're not using. They are truly at that point just a historical piece, but don't put them into practice.
Not even for just an idea of how to start a recipe.
No, not even just for an idea. Because if there's something that, if you have an old recipe at home that you think is just awesome, you can take that one and compare it to a recipe that we have, whether it's online or in our publications. USDA also has a national food preservation website, so you can also compare recipes there. But all I would use that old recipe to do is just to compare, and if I find one that is similar with regards to the spices that are added or those kinds of things, then I would throw the old one away and use the one that is research tested. The one thing people don't realize is that we all think about food preservation happening for years and years and years, but actually food preservation is pretty new science, and so therefore we still have lots of changes that happen periodically. In fact, within the last 10 years, we've had major changes with regard to guidelines and recipes and those kinds of things. So it is important to throw those old resources away and get new ones. And even if you have old extension publications, I really encourage you to go online or give us a call and get some new ones, just because there are things that are constantly changing with that. And if you have questions about what you'd like to preserve, let us know, because we would be happy to give you that new updated information to make sure that you and your family are safe, and then that the time you spend in preservation will be you'll have a good quality product at the end. And with that, I think we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I'm going to talk a little bit about zucchini.
Right now, 81.
Here's Sean Hannity, weekday afternoons on Super Talk 1270.
And welcome back to the Extension Connection. And right before the break, I mentioned I was going to talk a little bit about zucchini. You know, zucchini always...
dun, dun, dun.
I know. Kind of, you know, we kind of laugh about zucchini, but it is such a vegetable that is so easily used and can be used in so many ways. But always the joke, at least at the courthouse, is don't leave your car unlocked because you might end up with a backseat full of zucchini.
People trying to pawn them off on people.
Yeah, it's never a bad year for zucchini. That makes it no matter what. And of course, there are zucchini is actually one of the summer squash that we grow in this area. You can also have crookneck or straight neck types, and so they can be green, they can be yellow. There's lots of different kinds out there, but they can all be used basically in the same way. And a half a cup of summer squash usually only gives us about 10 calories. So it's a very, it's one of those things you can eat a lot of.
Food, yeah. I
mean, you truly can eat your whole back seat full.
You need zucchini all the time.
You might not feel good, but you sure could. But summer squash is really high in vitamin C and vitamin A and potassium. Oh. And then it also has some other vitamins and minerals too. So, you know, it's a good choice. It's a good way to stretch different foods, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So one way you can prepare zucchini is grilling it, and that this time of the year, that's a great thing to do. Cutting it into like 1/2-inch thick pieces, mixing it with a little bit of canola or olive oil, and then seasoning it with either garlic or pepper or Italian or whatever your favorite seasoning is that you like, because zucchini, of course, is such a mild flavor that it will accept whatever you want to put with it. And so that's what's nice for that. And then you can grill the zucchini over medium to low heat for about 3 to 4 minutes per side. And then perhaps you might want to use a perforated grilling pan just to make sure that you don't have your zucchini fall through the grates and lose half of it.
Yes. Yeah, that could be messy
while you're cooking. As far as doing the oil and the seasoning, one handy thing to keep in mind is I like to put my vegetables into like a Ziploc bag and drizzle a little bit of oil in there, sprinkle the spices in there, and then shake it all up. And it's an easy, kind of
mess-free.
Yeah, less messy kind of way to get them all coated before you cook them. Another way you can also do it is actually slicing the zucchini lengthwise, and then you can brush it with oil and season it that way, and just have them on the grill that way. Then you don't have to worry about them falling through.
They'll be plenty big.
And then you can kind of cut them up for serving after that. Another fun thing you can do with zucchini is you can actually make noodles. You know, I think a lot of us have heard of spaghetti squash, but they do have fun tools out there that you can use that are called spiralizers, that you can actually twist your zucchini through it, and it creates something that looks like a noodle. And of course, it's much lower in calories than pasta would be. It's not going to be able to be used exactly the same way pasta is, but many times it can definitely be a refreshing change from pasta. You can add the same kinds of sauces to it, and you can saute it in a pan to cook it. You can also cook it with a small amount of water. You don't want to boil it like you would with pasta, because it'll fall apart.
This is such a watery vegetable itself.
Yeah, you just want to kind of warm it and kind of warm it through so it gets to be, just for maybe like 3 to 5 minutes. And then, you serve it with whatever your favorite sauce would be. And then another way to use zucchini, of course, which is probably everybody's favorite, is in baking.
Zucchini breads.
Zucchini breads, zucchini muffins. And again, because it has such a mild flavor, it really can take on whatever flavor you want to add with it. So you can add other fruits with it, whether it's banana or apple or peach, whatever you'd like. Or I know one of my favorites is making lemon bread with zucchini in it.
I've never done that.
Which makes it really a nice moist bread without having to add a lot of fat, and you don't have to add a lot of oil necessarily. You can also use zucchini to extend foods, like adding grated zucchini to meatballs or to meatloaf, usually adding about a cup of grated zucchini per pound of meat, which, again, that extender, or can be that way to sneak in some vegetables for those kids that are a little bit more finicky or picky. They might not eat a whole piece of zucchini, but you can sneak it into those meatballs.
There you go.
Yeah.
Hidden.
Another fun thing you can do, you can actually eat zucchini blossoms. They can be added to soup or salads or quesadillas. The one thing to keep in mind, though, is that if you eat the blossoms, that blossom is responsible for forming a zucchini. And so if you eat the blossom...
sacrificing.
Yeah. If you eat the blossom, you're not getting the zucchini. But you know what?
If you have too many zucchini, it might
if your back seat's already full, that might be okay.
Still a way to eat what's being produced without getting the whole zucchini.
And then lastly, of course, you can also preserve zucchini. Freezing zucchini, you can freeze it by slicing it or grating it, blanching it in boiling water for about a minute if you grate it, or 3 minutes if you've sliced it, and then dry it and package it in freezer containers. And a lot of times people will do that. They'll freeze it in preparation for maybe some of their favorite baked products that they want to make. So if your recipe calls for 2 cups of zucchini, you might want to freeze them in packs of 2 cups so that you're ready to, in the middle of winter, you can make some fresh zucchini bread.
Yeah.
And do something fun like that.
Lots of ideas.
Yeah. And then we do have a FoodWise newsletter that's out right now. It's the one for August, so we're a little bit ahead of schedule. But that also has a great recipe for a taco summer squash boat. And it is using summer squash, cutting it down the middle,
making those
scooping
boats.
out scooping out the seeds and throwing those away, and then using some of the meat from the inside of that squash along with ground turkey or ground beef, some salsa, taco seasoning, onion, bell pepper, tomato sauce, and shredded cheese, and then making a real fun meal. Doesn't it sound
I'm
good?
hungry.
I know, me
Lunchtime.
too. I'm getting hungry. Well, before we run out of time, we probably should be talking about the Morton County Fair
big thing coming up. We won't be here before the fair. So, we start up on Wednesday, August 2nd.
Right. And that really starts out in the evening with the 4-H Horse Show speed events. And so that will be just a fun night. So, a fun night to spend just a few hours watching the kids ride fast and get into the swing of the whole weekend.
Yes, exactly. And then Thursday's pretty full. There's a ton of General Achievement Day judging going on right away in the morning. There's the horse show at 10:30. A bunch of exhibits will be out kind of all afternoon. Public can come see those at 2 o'clock. Rabbit and poultry shows are also going on that afternoon, and the livestock will be starting in the evening. So I highlight Wednesday, Thursday. There's no cost of admission, so if you want to come and bring your kids out to that.
And just check things out. And then Friday, August 4th, will be our Livestock Achievement Day. And so that will be the day when all of the 4-Hers will be showing their livestock, a chance to see all of them and visit them in the barns, and also seeing them in the show ring.
And I think we're running out of time here soon. So if you can visit the Morton County Fair website, so it's just mortoncountyfair.com, and you can see the full schedule. I know I'll be in the office. If you have questions on that, you can call. But until then, we'll see you at the fair next week. And
look for posters around the community too.
And this is Morton County Extension Connection. We'll see you in a couple weeks.